Hi friends, in Planet Earth Dating, it's Saturday, March 26, 2016. Phil and Ra here in the Lynn-Life, and the Ra that we are calling Dred Scott in the Jamie Body Mind, other teammates in other dimensions, most of us in the subatomic and most of us in the physical. We've had quite a wave of body snatching this week, and so we're going to go with the foundational intention, which is to do what is ours to do right now, in all dimensions, to manifest the divine plan. And with that, the formally videoed portions of today's efforts begin.
Reaching way up through the reporting chain, and feeling for a desk, or for a safe, for something that's clearly an office environment, an
I can find a safe.
And start to pump the lies out of the deep subatomic up into the safes, into the lock boxes, pumping up the lies.
It's going to scare that person who's coming to open this safe.
That's true.
They aren't going to know how this came to be inside the safe.
That's true.
And I can feel that this person isn't the powerful person, but just works for the powerful person.
That's true.
And has been sent to the safe to get something, and is opening the safe and having a little freak out and running away.
That's true.
And coming back with what look like security guards or
That's
something,
true.
because they're assuming that if someone broke into the safe and left a pile of garbage, it looks like rotting fish heads and things like that, that they must have also taken the, quote, good stuff, unquote, but it's just all dumped in together and stirred up nicely.
That's true.
Fish offal is fish offal.
That's true.
That's some awful.
That's true.
That's funny.
And I hear her talking to the security guards and saying all kinds of crazy things
that make
don't make any sense.
What do I know? I know that the whole pillar is kind of shaking or wobbling.
That's
and
true.
That the issues are not at the top, but at the bottom.
That's
and there's
true.
a lot of crashing earthquake feelings. And it's unclear to me whether or not this is something gone right or something gone wrong. I see picked.
I feel him there, but I don't feel him doing his side-to-side metronome Cleary feeling.
No. Picked. Now is the time. Now is the time to get in action. He seems broken.
That's true.
It's like the clock that stopped when the old man died.
That's true.
He doesn't know what to do. Now that some of the Ras who have been here this past week and 10 days perhaps have been proven, I'd say definitively, to have bad intent. And we're not looking down our noses at them because power corrupts.
That's true.
And the raw string of incarnations, as we've been going up through these levels for a long time, the levels we're going through have Ras that have very powerful positions.
That's true.
And so it's obvious that nobody is exempt from corruption, and it makes sense now that we look back on it. It looks like we're crazy, or doing a really good impression of brain-damaged idiots, to not have realized long before this that obviously those aspects of Ra's soul would be likely to be corrupt.
Right.
And now that we see that and we start to see their actions of the past couple of weeks inside of that frame of reference, everything makes perfect sense. That before this seemed pretty confusing.
That's true.
But it's clear now that they want to protect their positions of authority, as is natural. You know, Lenin and Stalin toppled the czarist regimes with good intentions.
That's true.
And then fell to the same corruption that the czarists had fallen to.
That's true.
And so on and so on. There are many, many examples. What now?
In order to manifest the divine plan,
we remind these Ras that taking up housekeeping in a physical host who has power in the worlds in which he or she operates, that's likely to really poison you.
Right,
and what
that's
you
true.
need is to be supporting a physical life that has very little authority.
That's true. I feel huge resistance, almost
Refusal.
refusal across the board.
Mm-hmm. This is why we're recommending the abused children.
And there's less refusal on that because all the Ras can feel that if they refuse to do that, they will be obviously bad people. Someone who
Right.
says, no, I won't help an abused child because I don't want to.
Right.
There's not much to hide behind.
No, there's not a fig leaf.
And so I don't feel refusal, I just feel kind of grumpy feeling.
Grumpiness. You've become Mr. Grumpy Pants.
That's true.
We'll just screen out all the grumpy
All
pants
the grumpy pants. But that's true.
and deliver them to the project of today, which is thing 36, the abused child who we are supporting today. And as these grumpy, corrupt aspects of Ra's soul are being lifted off, we remember that Jeff found a related soul of his own who was being a big Mr. Grumpy Pants and not wanting to acknowledge that the nature realms really needs to sign on for the new greater good programming.
That's true.
That acknowledges that the needs of the greater good matter more than the needs of individuals and groups, which sure seems like it would be self-evident.
That's true.
But the nature realms hasn't come around the corner on that, and we were having the argument yesterday with the nature realms that this was actually essential, and they were saying crazy things like, maybe Pan will once more cross the barrier of the awakening and come back again.
That's true.
I guess the third coming.
Right.
And that's crazy. Do it yourself. Quit leaving it on to Pan. Do it yourself.
True.
Step up. Sign on for the greater good program. The needs of the greater good matter more than the needs of individuals and groups. What do I know? I know that at the point in time that the pointer is highlighting that the three powerful souls in the effort were Ra, Pan, and Luce. It's somewhere along the timeline. I can feel it. Boom. Pan is out of the picture right now. For the most part, Ra's are out of the picture right now. We have our Ra here, but he's in really bad shape, and he's in bad shape because the Search for Truth team members themselves keep resisting what they're supposed to be doing.
That's true.
That's what drains his energy. And we have Dred Scott here, who has distinguished himself by being willing to read the manual, to study it, and to step into a life that actually in the 3D world has no authority, no power.
That's true.
Pretty helpless, quote unquote. Right?
Oh, that's true.
And he's stepping up to help. We'll see. Pan, of course, not here at all. Pan is across the awakening line. We've seen him on the other side of the awakening, and I'm being shown him again, and he's kind of like reading his morning newspaper, and he's aware that the awakening hasn't occurred where his old friends are. But he knows that he made it worse when he came back to try again.
That's true.
And he's really afraid of trying a third time because he knows, and I believe he's correct, that he has the potential to be a complete disaster on the course. He doesn't want to make it worse. And I actually think Pan's done more than any of the rest of us because he's the only one who's come back across the awakening line, and we need to stop looking in that direction. That's not our answer.
That's true.
That's not the answer. This is for us to do. And all of us in this time zone to do. There is some Luce somewhere who, not being a brain-damaged idiot, can tell that the needle must be pointing at him, because he isn't Ra and he isn't Pan.
That's true.
And they just gave those three names, and he can't help but notice that he has the third name that hasn't been addressed, and that it's possibly up to him right now, that he has the like the action card. And this doesn't take anybody else off the hook for the action cards that they also have.
Right, that's true.
It's true for him, but we, all of us, have something that we're supposed to be doing. We all have an action card. Each of us has an action card. And what matters for each of us as individuals is that we take the actions that are on our own individual action cards.
That's true.
And if we don't, then we ourselves have immediately begun to decay and shrink and become less than we were, to rot in some way.
That's true.
And that's how it is when we don't do what it is that's ours to do. And this Luce sees that for himself.
That's true. This feels like one of those younger Luces.
Oh, it could be. And he knows what his assignment is. It's to go back to his dimension of origin, which is the level we're calling Malcolm's level.
That's true.
Where there was a group of young children who had been put into mental institutions for talking about the disasters that were unfolding in the subatomic.
That's true.
And a lot of them came in and have been studying in the Search for Truth effort for a long time, while their physical host lives are being supported by other aspects of their own soul stream. And I think it's time for this young man to go back to his original body, and maybe to go in with reinforcements. Don't go alone. That's a disaster in the making, to go alone. Take a big group of reinforcements, people that you want to work with you, and maybe Pict will come back to life if you take him. He's kind of frozen where he is, and he's such a good,
team member,
consistent team member and friend.
That's true.
That it's sad to see him frozen like that.
That's true. And so rarely is he in a state like this.
I've never seen him like this.
No, I don't think so. This Luce feels scared, but willing.
So here's the deal. When you get up there, if it becomes impossible, dive back down. Front door is always open. Just come on back in. You know the way. You know the way. You don't have to feel as though this is a one-way ticket home. And actually, every night when you go to sleep, you can come back.
That's true.
And when you meditate, you can come back. Every time you aren't in your normal state of having to deal with the life that's occurring at that level,
yes,
you can come back here. I kind of feel like he's with that thought
Heading
rising.
up.
Take people with you. Do you have
Take
a team?
lots of people
lots
with
of
you.
people with you, and call for volunteers. Who wants to go with this young Luce as he's going back into that body that looks preteen, maybe?
Yeah, maybe 8 or 9.
Oh wow, I thought a little older.
It's hard to tell with Luce bodies because they can be so skinny and so small.
I thought he was more like 11 or 12.
He might be just a small 12-year-old.
He's a very small 12-year-old.
That's true.
The physical body looks small, but he feels too old to be that young.
It's hard to age in a Luce.
It is hard. Well, I feel lots of people going in with him, lots of souls like beads on a string. Boom, 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 boom. So he's got plenty of support. And now the intention is to continue to conduct the search for truth for yourself and for your life.
That's true.
What are people actually saying? And in order to do this, you're going to have an awful lot of time alone. You need to have an awful lot of time alone, because you're going to get too much craziness dumped into your
experience of sentience.
You have got to be able to decompress. Now, here's what that often means. A sick child, a child who spends a lot of time at home alone in bed.
That's true.
Are you okay with that? They're already in.
Yeah, they're already there.
I think it is a sick child.
Yeah. Sick kid.
Yeah. The base of the pillar is still shaking.
That's true. And rumbling.